Welcome back to the Cat Dad Show. In this episode, we're going to be chatting about all things senior cats, including how completely incredible elderly cats are as pets. We're also going to talk about how do you know when it's time to let go? How do you cope with providing medical support like injections or pillings, which could be stressful? And we're also going to talk about how to handle the grief of losing a cat. We've got a special guest today, Penny Higgins, who runs a retirement and hospice home for cats called Mew-Mew House. I am pumped to get into this conversation. Penny, welcome to the Cat Dad Show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is great. We're going to get into what caused you to start a retirement and hospice home for cats. But first, you love senior cats. I love senior cats. What are some unique qualities that make elderly cats such incredible companions?
The great thing about elderly cats is that, first of all, you know what you're getting. All right. You know pretty quickly. You meet the cat. This is the cat you're getting. And they're chill. They just want to be loved. They want to cuddle with you. And they're not as high maintenance as a little kitten, so you can enjoy their company, but you don't have to keep them entertained. And I enjoy my old guys because they just like to hang out with me so I can watch TV and they'll watch TV too.
I love that. And I'm going through, so I had two elderly cats. I got them as kittens. And then they grew up, and then they became old, and I lost one at age 16, and then I lost the other one at age 20 last year. So I'm gonna maybe give in some of my insights during this conversation on the joys of a senior cat. But now I just adopted two other cats for about 4.5 months ago. They're one. So I went from senior cat back to these kitten with kitten energy. And like you said, you don't really know what you got when you adopt a young kitten with so much energy. So that juxtaposition of a senior cat versus a kitten energy type of cat, it's a lot of fun. I love cats of any age, but like you, I have a special place in my heart for our senior felines. Can you tell the story of how Mew Mew House came to be and what inspired you to start a home, basically a retirement and hospice home for cats, which I had never heard of. So that's quite unusual. How did you get into this?
It was the birth of Mew-Mew House was kind of accidental. It started with me having 2 very old cats who I'd gotten. Actually, both of them I knew from when they were very young, but they were getting on geriatric by then. And then there was a feral cat, actually not so feral, but a feral cat that lived in around our house when we moved here into the house I'm in now. And I just enjoyed their company, but it became difficult when um, one passed away and the other one got lonely. And the third cat, the feral cat was not actually feral. It 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 snowballed. I fell in love with the older cats, the broken cats. The first cat I had was diabetic and was hyperthyroid. The second one, he was actually healthy until he passed, but he passed with kidney failure. And I was watching them go, I found myself looking at shelters and seeing their old cats, and suddenly there I was adopting cats and taking them in as opportunities arose. I took in, I found out from a friend that there was a cat in need. He was just an old man who was blind in one eye and deaf and toothless. And I think he had FIV too. And I just took him in and he was such a treasure. I miss him. He had the raspiest meow. Um, and it kind of cascaded. And I didn't realize what it was going to become until sometime in the middle of the pandemic when I found myself gathering cats. And part of it, I mean, I'll admit part of it was because I was recently divorced and was lonely. But part of it was also that they're just such benefit to for the cats and for myself to just have company and realize that you're just doing good by being there. And I just take on the ones that people don't want. I take in now, I make it a sort of a policy to take in the cats that really either aren't doing well at shelters or, in many cases, say a third of the cats that are here now come from families in crisis where, shelter won't take the cat that they have that belonged to a family member who passed. And it's just been so rewarding to me. And it was about a year and a half ago when I finally realized that, yeah, this is actually a business, and started filing to become an LLC. Well, not an LLC. Got incorporated as a nonprofit, and then got my 501(c)(3) status, and then I knew it was for real. And now there are days when I'm like, "What have I done?" But, I seem to hover. It's horrifying, but I seem to hover around 30 cats in the time.
Cats.
30 cats,
And you're running this out of your home.
and this is my house. So these cats, the thing that I love the best about what I can do for them is there's no cages here.
Mhm.
They're just house cats now. They can hang out with me at it's an old 1830s farmhouse. It's huge. And of course there's plenty of mice to chase if they're into that. And lots of rooms, and they could just either ignore me or be with me, and they're just house cats. And you notice behind me, there's also a dog gate here. That I have a couple of dogs as well who are really good with the cats, but that the cats get to make the choice whether or not they're going to be with the dogs. But it's just a menagerie, and I'll tell you, those cold winter nights. You've heard of 3 dog night, but I'm going to tell you, 12 cat night is pretty amazing.
Yeah, they'll keep you warm. Now, are all the cats that you have, are they all seniors? Do they all have illnesses? Describe a little bit about what type of cats like you really take in.
The cats that I take in, you know, a lot of them are just old but otherwise healthy. And some of them actually aren't all that old. I do have some younger cats that have come when people passed away, family, like I said, they're in crisis, they don't know what to do. But my favorite cats are the ones that shelters around here know me. And if they intake a diabetic cat, they call me. I have at one point I had 5 diabetic cats, and that was insulin twice a day. And I've done hyperthyroid cats. One of my favorite cats ever, Snickerdoodle. Man, my life's goal is to, meet someone who looks at me the way this cat looked at me, because this cat was in love with me. And he was at the shelter and not adoptable because he was hyperthyroid and nobody wants to deal with it. I've got the spirit cats, the ones that, they're not really adoptable because they don't want to hang out with you. I've got the semi-ferals. I've had one cat that's semi-feral, has been with me he came in December of 2019, and now I can actually kind of touch him and pick him up. And then I have, a lot of the FIV cats. Unfortunately, I can't take in leukemia cats right now. That's my goal, is to eventually build a wing or an area in this house where I can also have leukemia cats. But the FIV cats, I mean, they're just wonderful animals, and some of them are just kind of beat up, and tired cats, and some of them, are young and just full of life. And I just it's a wild array of personalities in this house. I swear I have some cats that I took in a cat from New York City. She was actually driven here by the family, because her person passed away, and the family brought her to me. Her name is Sabrina, and they're like, well, Sabrina has kidney failure, which is another fun thing to deal with. So it needs a special diet and this and that. And so, a cat with kidney failure, it's usually it's a long path. It can be pretty miserable. But I kid you not, I've had this cat for 3 years. She runs this show. I'm sure her kidney values are horrible, but she is just the most amazing cat. And yes, the comment just said hello. Well, but she is such an amazing animal, and she just follows me around and yells at me and demands that I feed her. She gets a special dish, and you know, she's she means a lot to me. She's gonna be a hard one to lose. I But I think one of the hardest intakes I've ever had, and actually these were younger cats. Actually, I take that back. I guess they're 14. So in my world, 14 is pretty young. Because the oldest cat I've had, I took one in at 18, it lived to be 21. But these guys I took in, they were about 12 years old. They were a bonded pair, and their person called me and said, it was actually kind of uncle, but she was like, I have terminal cancer and I need to take care of my cats.
Oh my.
We should take, I'm like, worse. So I took in these two guys. And yeah, it was really weird because I deal with losing cats all the time. But to learn I had the cats and then learn that their person passed was like, that was really hard. But also reminded me of, what I'm trying to do. It meant a lot to her that she knew her cats were going to be okay. It meant a lot to her family. And for all the families I take in cats for, they're always so happy that, even if it ends happen where I've had cats for less than a week and then they pass just because the stress of moving is a lot.
Mm.
But families are always just so happy to know that, you know, this last connection to their beloved family member wasn't in a shelter, you know, when things happened. And I mean, it means a lot to me that I can be there for people when they need me. So not only do I get cats, I get whole families.
Yeah, what a rewarding and fulfilling mission that you've kind of built there in your community. And I know you mentioned that caring for cats helped you through a tough time in your life. Can you share more about that experience? I know other people who um, have mentioned that their pet has gotten them through like the worst time in their lives, and would love to hear your experience with that.
So yeah, so long about 2019 or so, I was in the middle of a divorce, suddenly alone, and I, just coincidentally got laid off from a job I thought was going to be my forever job, and then COVID happened. Um, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life, and everything's crashing and burning around me because without the dual income, how am I going to pay the house? Because I was adamant that I was going to keep the house, still have it. Um, but it got pretty dark for me in past couple of years. I've had times where my doctors are calling me saying, "Hey, are you okay? You're still with us, right?" And those days when I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed. It took me 3 years to find another job. And it's really hard to be somebody who's career minded and really driven to work to 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 realize that you can't find work. And you start feeling like nobody wants you. And I can really identify with the cats because, well, they are in a situation where, sometimes shelters are like, families will tell me this. Well, we tried to take my cat to the shelter and they said, oh, we're just going to put him down. And I'm like, oh, I understand that feeling. And, but in those dark, dark, awful days, I still had to get up and feed the cats. And not only did I have to feed the cats, many of them needed medications twice a day, and the medications had to be administered at just the right time. So it forced me to be active. It forced me to get out, interact with the community. And I finally landed the job I have now a little over a year ago. and my world got brighter again. Actually didn't realize how dark it had got
Yeah.
until I finally landed a job where I felt like I was needed and wanted, and then I turn around and like, I've got all these cats. Um, and I realized how much the cats kept me from doing something awful. And even though it's been expensive to take care of the cats, every penny's been worth it because not only did I get their companionship when I needed it, people close to me, got to know a bit more about me. And, I told you earlier, I also have an autistic son who really benefits from interacting with the cats. He's learned a lot about nonverbal communication and empathy and compassion and also how to deal with death. Um, and so it's been like a win-win for me. It just there's some days when it gets dark, and I mean, I'm never gonna be, okay. And so I have my dark days, but I still have the cats, and some of them actually come up and snuggle with me when I'm down. And then I have days when I lose cats, and then it's awful, but they just helped me so much. And they sort of brought meaning where it wasn't clear that I had meaning in my life. They were there to be like, "Yeah, we need you, so this is all."
Yeah, that's a great word, meaning, like, you're taking care of them, they need you, right? And that's fulfilling, and, I took care of my senior cat, Mia. She was diagnosed with kidney disease at age 16. She ended up living to 20. She had other illnesses kind of along the way with some, arthritis, mobility issues. Kind of towards the end, she got lymphoma, and I didn't want her to have any of these illnesses, but in some way, I got a lot of fulfillment, a lot of joy in being her caretaker every single day, and it felt like that was my mission, was to take care of her. And if I had those down days, I knew she was relying on me, and she gave me the love that I needed. And sounds like in a bigger way, because you have more than just one cat, you were getting that same fulfillment. And probably those who are listening or viewing this, who are going through a hard time, have their pet for that love and companionship and for the caretaking. You can definitely relate to that for sure. With the number of cats that you have, it can be very difficult to, of course, have to say goodbye on a semi-regular basis. How do you deal with the emotional challenges of saying goodbye to cats who've become such a big part of your life?
Yeah, I think saying goodbye is the hardest thing, and now the first cats I lost were my first cat ever was the first cat I ever lost, and it was hard. I just didn't even know how to deal. But at the end of the day, I realized that, in his case, we put him down because he was really miserable. Um, and I understood that what I did was the right thing, even though it kinda sucked. And then I lost another one. Actually, no, then the second cat I lost just died randomly one day, and that was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. Just walked upstairs and he was gone. Correct. Um, and I wasn't even sure how to grieve about that one. Um, and I think the third one was a kidney failure cat, which you understand as well as I do. That's a really awful progression. Um, but so at first it was really hard, but then I realized that I would recover. And, some folks will think that, "Oh, if I've lost a cat, I've lost a pet, never gonna have another one again." But at this point, because I mean, I have well, actually, right now, I have 28 cats. Um, but I probably lost close to 20 cats in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So they cycle through. And, every time I lose one, I grieve. I ugly cry at the vets. I mean, they know me. They bring me tissues before, anything. They're really familiar with me. But then I realized that, the death is beautiful because this cat is now free of the limitations of its body. It's happy. Hopefully, it's somewhere up above, waiting to, I don't know, jump all over me, do what cats do, whatever. Um, but then I remind myself also that in process of losing a cat, it makes space for another one. And as weird as it sounds, it helps me a lot to know that in loss, there is gain, which sounds kind of weird. But for my particular situation, when I lose a cat, I grieve and then I miss that love. And it's very easy for me to go out and help someone else. And to date, I haven't had to turn anybody down, which is great. And I seem to just hover around 30 cats. There's some sort of magical level. Um, but last week I lost 2 cats in one day. And that was pretty hard because one of the cats was one of the first cats I brought in. I had adopted her from a shelter. She was left at the shelter at 14 years old when her person, I don't know if her person passed away or went into assisted living or something, but this poor 14-year-old toothless cat was at the shelter and I breezed right to the shelter. This is before Mew-Mew House was even an imagining. And I took her, and for 5 years, she screamed at me every day when I got home because she was hungry. She stood on my bed and waited for me to bring her a bowl. And so I lost her on Wednesday, and that was one of those. It was kind of a release because I knew she was not doing well, but also it's hard to come home, right? But then I also lost a second cat that day from it was like an abrupt. I think she had a stroke. So I noticed something was weird, picked her up, and she had a seizure and then died right in my arms. And I don't wish for anybody to have to experience that, but also I had her, and she knew she was safe. I think she waited and then she felt safe and then she was gone. Well, yeah, I'm still upset about it, but I'm still right now, 2 days later, I was all messed up. So this happened on Wednesday and Thursday. I was all messed up. I went to work and I was like, I can't communicate with people. But I did my job. And then by Friday, I was like, "Hey, who needs a place?" And I was already looking for somebody else to move in. Not that I actively go out, but, I start paying attention to the rescue group Facebook page. I'm like,
Really.
"Oh, that cat needs me." And I haven't gotten any new cats yet, but, um, I'm ready. I'm still, I cry regularly over all of the cats I've lost, and
Yeah.
then it's a funny thing to remember each one of them.
Yeah.
It I just I guess that the long and the short of it is that I know that I gave them a peaceful ending and that it means I can help another cat,
Yeah.
and this keeps me going. I just can't imagine not helping cats. I can see a point in my life where I have a reasonable number of cats, like 5. Um, but right now, I'm doing as much as I can for people, and it makes a big difference for them. Rescues everywhere are just absolutely overwhelmed, so I can at least do my tiny part.
Yeah, I think keeping that in mind, knowing that you gave them a great kind of end to their lives and that you gave them so much love can, not that it's easy, but can help you navigate your grief a little bit better. And I'm really sorry that you've experienced two very recent losses, especially on the same day with one being sudden. Sorry you've had to go through that, but I love that you were there to just make that transition a little bit better for them. And then speaking of which, kind of making that decision of when to let go, when to say goodbye. It's not easy. I know it's something that I dreaded when I had to do it for my two previous cats that passed away. I know a lot of people that are watching, kind of going through that same difficulties. Like, when do we actually say goodbye? So we don't do it too soon, but we don't do it too late either. How do you navigate this difficult decision in really knowing when to say goodbye to one of your cats?
Yeah, knowing when is has got to be the worst part. And yes, I've had instances where I felt like I let them go too soon. I've also had instances where I thought I waited too long.
E-
Um, Although I think if you know it's coming, too soon is better than too late. But that the trick to knowing what I always pay attention to with cats is I'm trying to decide if they're ready, they're not. And I tell this to people all the time who bring animals into my care. I tell them, I let the cat call the shots. I watch the cat's behavior. If the cat is still interested and engaged, still wanting to be with me, or it was never a cat who wanted to be with me, but being engaged and interacting with its environment and having, being interested, even if they're, having mobility issues or something, if they're still interested, then they're not ready. They usually let you know by hiding, by not moving. Sometimes their behavior just changes really radically. Um, but for the most part, I wait until the cat gives me a pretty clear signal that they're ready. So I mentioned Snickerdoodle before. This is the cat that man, I wish I had somebody in my life who looked at me like that cat did. Um, he was a hyperthyroid cat, but what took him eventually was actually kidney failure. And I was watching him go downhill. We did a surgery to remove part of his thyroid because his thyroid had gone crazy, and he was doing okay. But then I sort of watched him, and one day he was just kind of looking at me. And it wasn't the same look. It wasn't the "I love you" look. It was "I'm tired. Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore." And that was why I picked up the phone and called him. Um, so almost every case has been the cat saying, giving me the "I'm tired" look. Now the abrupt ones are, I've had more than one where they're abrupt, and those are the ones where you call the vet, but it has to be like right that instant, and sometimes it's just not soon enough. And that's okay, because all you can do is be there.
Yeah.
And I've had some that have then taken so long. The path down has been gradual, and they have peaks and valleys, and those are the hardest because they seem to rally one day, you're like, "Oh, it's okay," and then they crash and burn the next, and sometimes you just have to call it, because it's no fun for them, it's no fun for you. But even then, you know, I'm watching their behavior. Are they still interested? Also, are they still eating at all? You know, and if they stop eating, it's usually a pretty good clue. Um, but yeah, it is hard, and it helps to know your cat and know what to expect. And I think one of the things I have, for better or worse, that I have going for me is that I have so much experience with so many cats, even cats I don't know very well. I can usually tell um, when something's going wrong, and it doesn't take me very long to figure that out. Whereas I suspect many cat owners may not recognize the signs. and they don't know what to look for.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard. I wish I could like provide that knowledge. I mean, weird things that I've figured out, like cats and kitty failure have a particular smell.
Mhm.
So I usually am like, oh, I can smell it on you. Okay, we're gonna schedule. Um, but yeah, I mean, there is no hard and fast. I guess that's what I can only tell people is that there's no hard and fast. You just have to watch your animal, and if they seem to be interested in being alive, then let them be alive. And if they're over it, if they're acting like they're tired and just not interested, then the best thing you can do is let them go peaceful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you bring up some really good points. Like cats are really good at hiding their pain, their illness, but I think like you mentioned, they will kind of at the end let you know, for lack of a better phrase. And you have the experience because you've seen, you've helped cats transition to the other side. Sounds like, at least maybe 20 times, somebody watching, maybe a brand new cat owner, and they've got their first cat ever, and their cat's sick and they're not sure what to do. But I think those were some really insightful tips that you provided for us. I'm curious, when you bring a new cat in, I think sometimes like it'd be hard. I've got two cats now. How do I bring a third in? How do you bring a new cat in when there's already 28 other cats, and cats are territorial? They'll let when they don't like other animals, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a fun one because all conventional knowledge is lock it in the bathroom and let them meet each other under the doors. And
Sniff
mm,
each other.
that's not going to work in this house. Um, so this is another instance where I let the cats call the shots.
Mhm.
Um, and what I typically do is I actually have a crate set up in my bedroom. So the first thing they're going to get to know is me and my movements and my noises. Um, but I set them up in a crate and it's covered. The front is open, it's covered, and I keep the bedroom door closed for the most part when they first come in. And then I usually it doesn't if I keep the door closed and the rest of the cats are going to drive me batty. There's going to be somebody pounding on the door all night. So I choose a few cats that I know are going to be completely chill and let them be inside my room with me and the new cat. And then I watch to see what happens. If there's a lot of hissing and spitting, that's like, okay, this is gonna take a while. This is gonna be different. Um, if they're hiding, then I'm like, okay, well, that's okay. You can hide back there. And if they're acting interested in interacting with the other cat, then I'm like, okay, well, this may go fast. And some people cringe at the way I do introductions, but when you have so many cats, you just kind of wing it. But I've had cats that like, they lasted, a whole 2 hours in the crate before they were out and running around the house.
Mm.
They was like, "No, I'm fine with this." There's no hissing, they were already purring, headbutting all the other cats. I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna torture this cat by keeping it in the cage." And those are amazing. I love those. That's also super unusual. The typical transition is they spend probably about a week in the crate and then another week or 2 exploring my room with other cats, and the door shut. And then I let them decide if they're gonna go in and out. I have a gate on my bedroom door too, so they can choose if they're gonna go out to meet the other cats or just stay in my bedroom. Um, and that's pretty typical. But I've had a couple of cats that lasted, just a few hours, maybe a day in the crate before they were like, "This is fine." And I've had another cat the longest a cat has stayed in the crate was about 2 months because they were just absolutely terrified. And, I would try to take them out and I would hold them so they knew I would be safe, and then I'd let them go back. I do interactions with them, just, every other day for like 2 minutes. And then what usually happens in those cases is that suddenly they're like, all right, I'm all right with this. And then they come out and they're just fine. Um, I do have one guy right now he's been with me for probably 4 months now. And he took the first 2 months hiding in the crate. And now he never leaves my bedroom, but at least he comes out and meows at me. So that's a big deal. So I give him all the encouragement I can. I pick him up, I give him hugs. And he also gets a special dish of food every day because I want to make sure he's eating. And he's a little afraid of the other cats. So I give him his own food, which means he's also associating me with dinner. So hey, that's a plus, right? Sure. Food is a very effective way to make friends with your cat.
Yeah, food, treats. All you need to do is serve coffee to the public, and you'll have a cat cafe just about over there.
Oh, I thought about it. I have
Mm.
actually thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe not.
Where I live in Knoxville, there's a cat cafe, and there's 2 more opening up here. I actually got my 2 current cats at a cat cafe in, Chattanooga, and when you said you had 30 cats, that's what they're always advertising, that they have at least 30 cats at all times, so, yeah, there's ways to introduce new cats to the current crew, which,
Yeah.
isn't always easy, but I love kind of how you do that. Um with senior cat, a lot of them might have illnesses where they need to take pills, have injections, which can be stressful for the cat, can be stressful for the cat owner. I know with my cat Mia, for her kidney disease, she needed injections, and I was like, there is no way I'm going to be the one able to do that. So I actually hired a vet student to come to my home 3 days a week to give Mia her injections. And that was wonderful. It was easy for me. It was easy for Mia. My sister, on the other hand, when she had a cat about 10 years ago, probably a little bit more than 10 years ago, that had kidney disease, her cat needed fluids as well, and she tried to do it herself, and she, put her cat in the bathtub, and she kind of, to this day, says it was very traumatizing for not only the cat, it was traumatizing for my sister. So, having said that, knowing that it's not always easy to give your cat pills or injections, what do you do to make this process as stress free as possible? Because I know with the number of cats that you have, I'm sure many of them have to take medicine.
Yeah, yeah. So that the medications are an adventure. Um, and I will say when I first had cats that needed medicines, like my first cat Charlie, who was diabetic and needed injections for insulin, and then later he needed subcutaneous fluids. I was I am a needle phobe. I mean, here I am giving shots, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this, but I tell you, it actually really helped me, get over my own phobia. But the thing that I tell people when they're scared about giving shots or pilling or whatever, I remind them that they are more nervous than the cat is. They are more, or even if it's a dog, y y they're gonna feed on how you're feeling. They're gonna see that you're stressed out, and they're gonna get stressed out. And once I got the hang of giving an injection or giving subcutaneous fluids or whatever, I just I'm like, "Yeah, that's just a thing." So I come up and I'm like, "Okay, here you go. Here's your shot." And, I will tell you, I'd rather give shots than give pills. 'Cause I get bit all the time with pills. It's like, I that pills are hard. Um, the shots are easy. it sounds weird to say, but, I've gotten so used to just I I go up to the cats like it's no big deal. Like, just like you might go up to a cat and pet the cat. And I just walk up to the cat, pick up a little fur, give him a shot, and then pet him, and then I'm done. And they're just like, okay. And it's so funny. I think I've gotten so nonchalant about it. The problem with having 30 cats is that some of them look like others. And I tell you, it's only happened once.
You didn't mix up the medicine, did you?
I gave the wrong cat the insulin. Um, and I'm like, oh dang. So thankfully with insulin, it's slow acting, and I'm just like, okay, I just gotta make sure there's enough kibble out so that when he gets hungry, he's gonna be able to eat. But he was just like, oh, I'm getting this now too. He just didn't even react when I grabbed him and gave him a shot. And I'm like, well, okay, well, that was easy. Um, so I think the trick really is to just act like it's no big deal. And then it's no big deal. Now, at first, it's something new for the cat, especially pilling. Um, you gotta figure out how to do that. Because cats are clever. Cats will know, and dogs too. It's like if you put a pill in a piece of bacon, they're gonna eat the bacon and not the. Um, I discovered there's this wrap. It's like this almost like putty that you can squish onto a pill masker, and that stuff really works well for all the animals because then they taste that and then they don't realize they just also swallowed a pill. The benefit of our carnivorous friends is that they don't tend to chew a whole lot. So if it tastes good, they just swallow it. So that helps. Pill poppers are magical. There's nothing weak about using a pill popper. Um, and I got to places. Most of my cats, I just jam it down their throat, and then I think about how stupid that was because they're rather pointy. But I definitely just give them pills straight down their throat if I can. I actually am lucky. One of my cats, he's taking a pill. It's actually edible pill. Um, he actually takes it out of my hand. This cat doesn't never learned how to cat apparently, but he takes it right out of my hand, which is really unusual for cats. Um, but I think that one of the hardest things to do, and you were mentioning it with your sister, is the subcutaneous fluids. Because not only do you have this fat needle, I'm sorry for all the needle phobes out there, um, but I mean the reality is an insulin needle is this really tiny needle and like it does nothing. But to give subcutaneous fluids, it's a fat needle. It's big, and you have to hold your cat, get this needle in there, get it in the right position, open up the fluids, and have it fill up, and somehow do that without letting your cat run off, which is always delightful to see water everywhere. Um, that's the hardest thing to do because it takes a while. It's not like a quick one and done. You've got to actually hold the animal for a while.
Yeah.
Um, for those kinds of situations, I always just recommend having everything in a comfortable place. Everywhere in my house, I'm trying to look to see if oh, there we go. For example, everywhere in my house, I have nail clippers. No matter what chair I'm at, there's nail clippers handy so that I can trim nails if they happen to sit on my lap. Well, that's how I do nails. Um, with subcutaneous fluids, I always have a bag and hanging out over my bed, and I have needles handy. So if a cat just happens to jump up into my lap and I look at the cat and I know it's time for their fluids, then I just grab them and say, okay, we're just going to sit here and we do this. And then it's just another thing that we do. But the real trick is to try not to make a big production of it, and it's just a thing that we do. It just, you, you feed the cat, the cats are used to, I get my food, I get a shot, I get a pill, and that's just part of their routine. It's
The routine, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's awesome.
and they know no different.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll like look at a YouTube video, like how to give a cat a pill, and the video will be of the most chill cat that doesn't move and doesn't squirm and doesn't bite. And like, it took like 5 seconds to give the cat a pill. I'm like, that's not how it usually is. Like, what'd you do to this cat? But you gave great advice. Like, I believe the cats will pick up on your own stress level. So if you're stressed and anxious, the cat will sense that, and make them become anxious and stressed. So the more relaxed you can be, the better off it is going to be for the cat. And I do want to just really emphasize that different things will work for different cats. So my friend Lori, her cat was just diagnosed with a thyroid issue, so she's given it a small pill each day, and she'll hide it in a pill pocket with and sandwiched by treats. Now, on occasion, the cat will eat everything, and then the pill will be like left on the ground. Like that's sneaky. She ate everything but the pill. But most of the time, that pill pocket really masks the taste of the pill, and that works. My cat Mia, at the end of her life, she had lymphoma. We were giving her steroids, and I tried to mask it, didn't work. And then I gave her the steroid, kind of crushed it up with some whipped cream, and she ate that right up. I was like, gosh, her last month of her life of 20 years, she discovered the joy of whipped cream because I had never given her that before. And then the final thing, or two more things I wanted to say, just really, I hired somebody from the vet school. She was a vet student to give Mia her fluids, and that was somebody I found on Rover. Typically, you go to Rover to find a pet sitter or a dog walker. You can find people on there willing to sit for your pets who are vet techs, vet students. So that is a great resource. I found a vet student there who is willing to come over 3 days a week on her way back, way home from school, and we had no problems. It was great because she would administer the needle. I would feed Mia treats at the same time, and that's kind of how we did it. And that became the routine that you talked about. And then lastly, speaking of resources, I put together a resource called the Ultimate Guide to Senior Cat Care. So if anybody watching wants this resource, it's completely free. Just comment senior, and I'll make sure you get a copy. Yeah. Gosh, good stuff. And this is an important topic. I'm glad we kind of touched on it because I know a lot of people watching have to give meds or needles to their cats, and it's difficult. Um, Penny, I want to kind of ask you a couple more questions. We know that elderly cats, senior cats are often overlooked at shelters. What can be done? I don't know if there's anything that can be done, but maybe what advice do you have for people that want to adopt a cat, but they're not sure that they want to adopt a senior cat or an elderly cat? What advice can you give that might change this perception for people?
I first of all, people make the mistake of thinking that a cat that's 6 or 7 or 8 years old, I mean, at 8, yeah, they're considered seniors, but cats, your experience, cats can live to be 18 or 19, 20. And my oldest cat was 21. He wanted to go to the bars, have a good old time. You know, that and a senior cat has many, many years ahead of them. And sometimes they don't. But if you're going to a shelter, the cat has been vetted, and probably you're going to get, many, many years. And it does not take that long to get close to a cat. And I'll tell you from my experience, yes, their life will probably, the life they share with you will be shorter than if you got a kitten. Probably. Well, maybe not. Um, and that's okay because you get over it. I mean, that the thing of it is that, senior cats still have so much love to give. And I would say if you have young children, for example, you might actually be better off getting an older cat I mean, kittens are cute and stuff, but they also, that they're kittens. An older cat's going to be, is going to call the shots. The older cat's going to be like, no, you're not going to do that, smack, or, run away and hide. And also in case of one of my cats, when my child was fairly young and didn't quite understand, that cats were living things, he dragged the cat through the house by the tail. Okay, he never did that again. Um, had it been a kitten, yeah, I'm not sure that would have been okay because it, would have scarred, could have hurt kitten or whatever. This poor old cat, he was just so happy to have somebody. Um, he went back for more. Um, so what you're getting when you get a senior cat. They're chill. They don't need tons and tons of attention. They will remove themselves from children if they want to not interact. They understand themselves well enough to know where they want to be. And, you know, this perception that an older cat is just gonna be, you know, not with you for very long is a misperception. Older cats, I feel like if I get a 14-year-old cat, I'm gonna know this cat for a really long time. Um, so yeah, there's no reason not to adopt senior cats.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with the changing diets or the getting them neutered or any of that. Just they're just happy to be there.
And
And
from somebody that went from a 20-year-old cat last year to 2 one-year-old cats this year, let me tell you, these kittens are running me ragged. They have so much energy. It's all I can do to keep them off of things, they're chewing on. I've gone through 3 sets of headphones. I've had to buy a new adapter for my computer. They chew cords. They jump all over countertops. They're trying to get my chicken breast and running away with it. Like, senior cats, yes, if it's a young senior cat, they may still do some stuff like that. But I think senior cat, they're a little bit easier to take care of, and they'll give you so much love. So yeah, so just good reminder for those that are considering, oh, do I want a kitten or do I want an older cat? And then finally, Penny, somebody who is considering adopting an elderly cat, what can they expect in return? So we've kind of described how senior cats' personalities are. What can a new pet owner of a senior cat, what type of joy or changes that can they expect in their life?
oh man, so much. I mean, just to have a senior cat who wants to be your companion. They're not gonna expect you to play with them or anything. At least most part. They're just happy to be there. And I have all different personality and and different, but most of these cats are just happy go lucky, hanging out, follow you around, get excited about mealtime. They might be conversational, they might not. They might be lap cats, they might not. They're just happy to be there. And I tell you one thing that does not break is the purr box.
It's
They will purr you to death. I've got one guy who purrs so loud that people can hear him when I'm talking on the phone. And I'm like, yeah, this cat's 14 years old and he is just so happy to see me every day. Uh, and I'm telling you, purring, well, this, purring is the therapeutic. There's all the science too that goes with it. There's
easy.
just nothing like a cat purring.
Oh yeah.
And so you're not going to have a cat running. Okay, old cats do get zoomies. Okay,
Mhm.
the midnight zoomies is real, but not as frequently as a kitten. And and chances are they're just going to climb into bed and sort of look at you and then go to sleep, and you're going to wake up and there's going to be a cat laying across your feet. And, it's going to be great. I just can't imagine if I had kittens rolling all over the bed, jumping on me and fighting each other. I'd probably lose my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and just again, from my experience with Mia, just yeah, she laid on my chest, and
Mm.
that's enough said, right? It's just that love that she provided, that physical touch, the quality time was just second to none. And I know senior cats can definitely provide so much. So I think it's something that if you're looking at potentially getting a new cat, really think about getting a senior cat. And speaking of, before we kind of close out, I would love it if you could share with us where we can find out more information about Mew House, and then how could we potentially help you?
Yes, yes. I need to do some work to update my website, but I do have a website. If you go to mewmewhouse.org, so it's MEWMEWHOUSE.org.
Okay.
That's my website. Um, and when you go there, you'll notice it's part of another website, but that's okay. I run another one too. But mewmewhouse.org has all the information about Mew Mew House, and it it does need to be updated. I noticed this the other day. You get busy taking care of cats. It happens. Um, and I go through, some of the cats that are here and some of our expenses. I've outlined, where the expenses come in, you know, because what really gets us a lot is, veterinary expenses. Although food and litter adds up in a big hurry.
Yes.
I do have a link. So I set up my own little domain called Mew so MEWMEW
Okay.
LINK/donate. That will take people to a page. It's a PayPal page. You can use PayPal or credit card and make donations directly there. And all that money goes straight in towards veterinary care or food. So I have a Chewy account that, they get their regular boxes of. I feel bad for the FedEx guy, I'll be honest.
Chewy must love you.
Oh, man. Yeah, the sun, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Um, but yeah, the 40-pound bags of litter, I go through about 100 pounds of litter a week. So, and I mean, bad for the FedEx guy and then also for the garbage guys
Mm,
because, that is not light. But I feed I did the math once. Feed like 16 cans of wet food every day and, you know, go through a bag of dry. It's just ridiculous.
yeah.
But I do have an Amazon wish list. I'll have to update my website to make sure it's on there and also a Chewy list where people can send us food.
Okay.
And also on the website, there is a link to the veterinarian that we always go to. So if people are not sure that things are gonna, you know, if they're worried that I'm taking the money and, going gambling or something, they can always make payments directly to the vet. Like that, there's never enough money there.
Yeah. Hey, I know with just two cats, I know how much those bills can be, and the food and the litter. I can't imagine what it's like with 30. So I will make sure to share these links that you just mentioned in our show notes and in our podcast descriptions and all that, in case people are able to donate and support you for what you do. Because Penny, you were doing some amazing work. I hope you never stop this. I know you said someday you might just have five, but as long as you are feeling fulfilled and called to do the work you're doing, just know that it is lovely what you're doing, just taking care of so many cats. They are lucky to have you. You're lucky to have them, and I am just really thrilled that you are doing what you're doing, and just want to acknowledge you for giving so many cats a good end of their life. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being a guest on this show for the Cat Dad podcast. I enjoyed having you here. Thank you so much, everybody watching. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.